All right, Bahamas. If you're on, can you share? It's been a while since I've been on. But it's about time that I begin to integrate myself back into the conversation. What's now, what's new, and what's next? So as you join me, I invite you to share the video. Uh, it's been a while, and I'm thinking today I'll commit myself to begin, if not a daily broadcast, a few times a week. We are, as a country, we are at a critical zone or part in our economic life. So let me just turn this. And for those of you who have not been following the media, the Bahamas, since Dorian application of COVID, is now in a fiscal crisis. Whether your members of parliament tell you or not, or your leadership, they are talking around the issue. Those of you who know I've spoken to this, I speak to data. A good example is when Dorian first hit, and as we move into COVID, a lot of people was running around saying, oh, we got $2.5 billion worth of damage. I told them, based on the damages we had incurred, and by the time COVID was finished with us, we would be around $7 billion hit to the GDP. So at the time we were using a GDP of about 10 billion. At the same time, I made the argument that based on international numbers and everything else, that we was around 12.9. A lot of the pundits and talk show hosts and whatever challenged where did I get this information from? Well, guess what? A recent report came in saying that the GDP hit was 7.5 billion. I think that I did better than 99.9% of the people out there who's predicting. Then guess what? The GDP has now been adjusted to 13 billion from 10. For those who remember, they were saying, oh, we almost hitting 100%. Well, I figured as much based on data, not opinion, that we would have been close to 10. That means we would be at 100%. But when you look at the actual economic activity based on data, not C. Allen Johnson opinion, you had shown that economic activity was still going on. And so there's a whole lot of subset of data that you have to hit. But either way, I said it was $7 billion economic hit. They're saying 7.5. I've not done a recent analysis. I'm putting to you, there's a very chance that 7.5 is worse off than it is, because the survey was looking at MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises. But when you begin to look at the fact that there's a very high possibility as much as 65 to 70% of Bahamians are unemployed, underemployed, or just have simply given up. Now, when you look at the Department of Statistics, you can verify this for yourself. According to the Department of Statistics, if you have not looked for a job, actively seek a job in the last, I don't know, about 3 months or 5 months, you are considered employed and you're struck from the unemployment list. If you go to work for 1 day, where you used to work 5 days, 40 hours a week, you are also considered employed, though it may be considered underemployment. The chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, member of parliament for Fox Hill, Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Public Service, in a voice note declared that 47% of the Bahamian families are living below the poverty line. I want you to pay attention to that figure. It's very important. And share the video for me, please. 47% of families A family consists in the Bahamas on average of a little about 4.2. So multiply 40% of the population of our 400,000, and you could very easily, I think it's 160,000 times that by 4. That means like 300 and something thousand of our population is living in poverty. I put that figure at higher than that. Now, what is the poverty line? 4,214, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is the income coming into that household per year. For those of you who heard me on social media and the talk shows, I predicted that we would have a housing crisis, an education crisis, a food crisis, and an immigration crisis. And a lot of time people say it's being negative. And so it's kind of like saying, buying a lottery ticket and saying that, I don't know if that's even a good analogy, but the mere fact that you look at the facts, you look at the predictive analytics, it tells you the possibility, but it also tells you the probability of something happening. And so when I look at data and I see it says this is possible, and then I look at the probability of it happening, and the probability is in the 80, 90%, you can expect it to happen. And so we are now in this fiscal crisis. Now, what does it mean? Just imagine if you have a $13 billion economy. Let's round it up at $8 billion. That has been hit. Okay? So that means normally where you have $1,300 if you was a home coming into your house, you now have only $500 to pay all of the bills, take care of all the families. And that's essentially what has happened to the Bahamian economy. Now, the problem is that from the previous administration and this new administration, you heard them talk, and I've said it for almost over a decade, that the one means by which we can save this economy is digitization of the economy. Now, the problem is that digitization of the economy comes with some caveats. We talk about the oligarchs and the plutocrats and which is the political class. Digitization of the economy would require them to give up power. No, Bahamians, us as individuals, would take power away from them. That's the problem. So a lot of time, because of the ignorance of the Bahamian people of really understanding what digitization and digitalization is. So you hear them talk about things like the green economy, the blue economy, the orange economy, the green economy, the knowledge economy, the conceptual economy, the aquamarine economy, and did I say digital? Let me go with that again. Orange economy, green economy, blue economy, digital economy, knowledge economy, conceptual economy, and aquamarine economy. There's some other subcategory about it. But digitization of the economy would cause the power of the economics to fall into the hand of individual Bahamians. So those of you who are scraping by, barely living, we're talking about ownership of the economy that it requires to be rebuilt. If you go to the F&M manifesto, where they promise you, just for Grand Bahama, let me use Grand Bahama as an example. Go back to 2007, during the political campaign, both Perry Gladstone Christie and Hubert Alexander Ingram said, there will be no economic rebound of the Bahamian economy without Grand Bahama playing a front and central role. Go to the 2012 election. Again, Perry Gladstone Christie and Hubert Alexander Ingram saying what? There will be no economic recovery of the Bahamas without Grand Bahama playing a central role. Let's go to 2017. Here comes Perry Christie and Hubert Alexander Ninnis, this time instead of Ingram, saying there will be no economic recovery of the Bahamas without Grand Bahama playing a central role. Okay, now let's come to 2021. Now you have Dr. Ninnis and Philip Brave Davis saying there will be no economic recovery of the Bahamas without Grand Bahama and Abaco playing a central role. Do you notice the theme in that? But whenever we talk about Grand Bahama, you hear Grand Bahamians saying nothing happened yet for 2 decades. That's because the oligarchs and the plutocrats does not have control of the infrastructure of Grand Bahama that would allow them to continue the suppression of the Bahamian population as they do in New Providence. I know some of you call it Nassau. Nassau is a city in New Providence. So here it is that you have where they have been trying. Oban was an attempt of grabbing those infrastructure, etc. But and people may ask, well, how does developing the economy of Grand Bahama disrupt the oligarchs and the plutocrats? Well, if you understand the political makeup of members of parliament, 23 or 24 of the seats of power resides in New Providence. So as long as the oligarchs and the plutocrats control the economy where those 24 individuals sit, they get to influence the direction and behavior of those members of parliament. Now, Grand Bahama is huge. Freeport, share the message, please, share the video. Freeport is 30 square miles smaller than Singapore. You always hear Bahamians refer to Singapore, Singapore. Freeport is 30 square miles smaller than Singapore. Singapore has 6 million people. Freeport was designed for a population of 250,000 people in 1955. That's before we had these vertical buildings as we know now, and the technology as it exists. So very easily, Freeport alone, which happens to fit into Grand Bahama at least 4 times, could actually hold probably 6 to 10 million people. Now, let's go back to what happens now. Here's the problem. If you start developing Freeport, where you could buy an acre of land for $20,000 or less, as low as $5,000, right? A quarter acre, sorry. Or waterfront property starting from $50,000 on the canal. If you develop the economy of Grand Bahama, individuals would begin to relocate to Grand Bahama, stripping New Providence of its economic power, right? So every time you fix it for a family, you become empowered by moving to Grand Bahama, buying a piece of property for $25,000, building a 2,000 square foot house for $200,000. You can't do that in New Providence. With all the infrastructure, we have cable, internet, water, electricity to all the properties, everything, infrastructure already in. So why it hasn't been promoted? Deepwater Harbor and 3 airports. Why isn't it being promoted? Because we often have these talking heads and people who have no understanding of the Hawksbill Creek Agreement telling you what they don't know. And I say what they don't know because they pretend as if though they're talking about expert. But you know, the one I admit, you're talking to a blind mind, blind people could say anything. Now, what happens is, back to how you say, how does this disrupt power? Imagine now you have 20,000 families leave New Providence, okay? Or 20,000 people, because I think about 80,000 families or more live on New Providence alone. But develop Freeport, and you have 20,000 people living. Let's just go with 10,000 families. 10,000 families coming to Freeport to be empowered to move into the tech jobs and hospitality jobs and industry jobs will cost 10,000 families, 4.2 people per family. That's 42,000 people to move to Grand Bahama. Sounds like a wonderful idea, beautiful homes, first-class education system, Deepwater Harbor Airport. But you must look at it from the political class and from the economic oligarchs. 42,000 people is not just 42,000 people to them. 42,000 people is actually 10 constituencies. So if you have 4,000 people per constituency or even 5,000 constituency, Grand Bahama already have 5. So in essence, let's use a conservative figure. you're stripping New Providence of 8 MPs because they'll now be on Grand Bahama. So on Grand Bahama, you will have about 10, no, 8 plus the 5 we have, you actually be entitled to 6 or more now. So you have, let's say, 15. You'll now have 15 MPs on Grand Bahama, which will be equal to or greater than the number of MPs on New Providence. The oligarchs will not have control of the food stores. The oligarchs will not have control of the harbors or ports. The oligarchs will not have control of the gas stations. The oligarchs don't have control of all of the things, the land. For a lot of you who don't understand, go to Google Earth and you say Nassau is tight with people and whatever else. But if you actually look from Google Earth, you'll see that Nassau, or New Providence, sorry, is less than 50% of the landmass that's actually occupied. But they've created the thing where they hold these landmass in their whole personal holdings. And by doing so, it makes scarcity in the land, which allows them to drive the price up to above the $100,000 for just a small piece of land. And then government participates in this injustice by taking plots of land and giving you little small, you could almost, you understand, building houses where you have to go outside to change your mind, or you could hear what your neighbor doing in the night because you're so close. An eighth of an acre or whatever it is they give you in housing. Absolute injustice when the infrastructure and everything is in place. Today's not a good day for me to come back and explain to you that in Freeport, the law already called for local government, municipal government, not the government, not the local government that we have now. It called for municipal government. And for those of you that are suffering, the government of the Bahamas gives away $150 million a year in taxes so the Grand Bahama Port Authority could oppress Bahamians. That's a fact. In tax concessions. Since August of 1990, the Grand Bahama Port Authority was supposed to begin to pay these taxes to both government and a local municipality. So they gave us this fraud of a local government where they control everything. Local government is like how I had my daughters when they were youngsters. I used to tell my daughters, y'all could stay out as late as y'all want, just be home by 7. You could wear whatever you want as long as I buy it. You could drink whatever you want as long as it's water. That's the fraud they tell us about local government now. But the local government that Grand Bahama calls for, Freeport by Grand Bahama by extension of Freeport, requires total autonomy from MPs, total autonomy from New Providence, and the ability to tax yourself and do all of these different things. And the $150 million that would go to New Providence will actually stay on Grand Bahama for the development of hospitals, schools, and police stations, senior citizen places, after school programs or whatever. It is about oppressing the entire Bahamian people by stopping the development of Grand Bahama. Now, and this all ties in because as we talk about these various different models, Grand Bahama is the only island in the Bahamas today that can, on day one, handle the green economy. On day one, handle the blue economy. On day two, handle the orange economy. On day one, handle the knowledge economy. On day one, handle the conceptual economy. On day one, handle the digital economy. On day one, handle the aquamarine economy. No other island in the Caribbean, not just Bahamas, can facilitate the 7 economic models for the rebuilding of the global economy. Today, very limited infrastructure has to be done with the exception of maybe upgrading to 5G. 5G, for those of y'all who don't know, 5G is not about cellular. You know, 5G is about cellular as much as, say, the food store is about a loaf of bread. 5G is but a small piece I mean, cellular is but a small piece of what a 5G network is capable of. So again, this is the pundits giving you misinformation. Share the videos, please. And so the question then becomes, why are we talking about the reboot and rebirth of the economy, considering that $8 billion of the economy, of a $13 billion economy, has totally disappeared? And the reason for that is they do not want to give up power. I want some of you to begin to have a conversation and begin to challenge your individual members of parliament. Forget talking to, you know how you say screaming at the barnyard door. And you're screaming at the barnyard door is because they're in the building, they've locked the door. And by screaming at the FNM or the PLP, it allows the individual members of parliament to actually not take responsibility for the action. So what you have to now do is basically find your individual members of parliament and begin to ask them, why aren't you bringing forth solutions? The PLP promised all these economic models. It has been about 6 months by the time they get back to parliament. And it's about time they actually bring about the legislation to enable the building of these ecosystems. You have Grand Bahama, the Minister for Grand Bahama, Ms. Ginger Moxie, Honorable Ginger Moxie. I know in Grand Bahama, beginning this week, I'm going to begin to ask her, where's the strategy, the implementable, executable strategy for this so-called orange economy that she so often taunts, and for these other blue-green, aquamarine, and whatever else there is? Where's the strategy for the actual implementation and integration of behemoths into these economic models? For those of you who are thinking about it, I just want you to know it requires no money on behalf of the individual behemoths to enter into these economies. And we're talking about building wealth. On average, we could have about 2,000 to 3,000 new millionaires per year. That's a fact. For those of you who don't know the numbers, don't challenge me. Go to your member of parliament and have them challenge me, because they know the numbers. That's at least 27 of them is in about 27 of them is in cabinet, right? So just let them be the ones to challenge me. Don't challenge me with what? When you come to me and say, well, I believe, I think, I was told that that's not possible. Come and challenge me with what you know. Do not challenge me with your feelings, okay? Bring the data. I can be bringing mine. But let's use an example for those of you skeptics, right? On Grand Bahama, a study that I was commissioned to do in 2009 and updated in 2018 says that we need at least 20,000 bed and breakfasts on Grand Bahama to actually meet what is called net zero of this tourism product. New Providence is short by tens of thousands of necessary rooms. We've been trying to squeeze whatever it is out of these regular rooms because we have failed to diversify our product. Yeah, people say all the time, oh, we need to diversify out of tourism. Pure garbage. Again, people talking about their feelings, they're repeating what they said. Hospitality, which encompasses tourism, is the 10th largest industry by virtue of revenue and earnings in the world. So what you're going to do? Diversify to number 11, number 12 or 13? Or are you going to diversify to number 9, number 8, number 7, number 6? We have yet to touch a fraction of tourism. Tourism is what people experience. No, sorry, get it wrong. Hospitality is what people experience. Tourism is what people do. Sports tourism, health tourism, religious tourism, you know, that type of thing. So we have yet to experience that. We need 20,000 rooms. Grand Bahama has the infrastructure, the beaches. We have more beaches on Grand Bahama on one side of the island than the whole island of the circumference of New Providence. Pure, beautiful, untouched, unspoiled beaches. So if we used to deliver sunshine, sea, and service, my survey showed that at the time, we no longer was producing service. We still had sun, sand, and sea, but we no longer provide service. So we just have to go back to providing service as part of our new hospitality brand. But let's go back to, you say, how behemoths can become millionaires in the hospitality industry. 20,000 rooms. Our leadership will most likely go back to the fallback of looking for foreigners to develop your industry. Somebody to come into town, create a hotel with a few thousand rooms, give you jobs, just over broke suckers in a just over broke system, and then tells you you'll be good. Behemoths only want jobs. I'm talking about ownership. If you take those same 20,000 rooms, and let's say the average behemoth only want 2 rooms in addition to your 2,000 square foot house. You put 2 bed and breakfasts in your yard. And I'm going to come back on another video broadcast and tell you how you could build those for 0 money down and 0 monthly payments. You heard me. Just follow me, Allen C. Johnson, ALLEN.com. AllenCJohnson.com on my various social media platform. My personal contact is 825-9700. You can build a 2,000 square foot house on Grand Bahama with 0 money down and 0 monthly payment and have clear title. Clear title. We are in the 21st century. We are no longer talking about going to Royal Bank, Scotiabank, Fidelity, and all of these various different Commonwealth Bank, Bank of the Bahamas, Mortgage Corporation. There are new methods of actually financing product called decentralized finance, DeFi, and fintech. We're gonna have conversations on those. But for those of you, break out your calculator. Let's say I was decided to build a 2,000 square foot house on my 1/4 acre, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna build, 1 second, please. I'm gonna go ahead and build those 2 1 bedrooms, 1 bath, B&B as we call them, in the yard, okay? Now, what you will do is, I know people love the word B&B. I am a more VRBO, vacation renters by owner, geared towards individuals that rent for 7 days or more. So when I talk to you, I'm going to talk to you about the VRBO models. I want you to take and consider, instead of going to the bank, this is how you would start. Instead of going to the bank for a mortgage, I want you to reconsider going to the bank for a business loan instead. So that way, for those of you all over 40 or 50, and you teachers and educators and what you call those people, civil service, whatever, that never have an opportunity to own a home. And they say, oh, you're too close to retirement to get this loan, whatever. I'm talking about a loan for $364,000 to build your home and those B&B, put them on solar, and make them at least 4-star accommodations for the B&B, or VRBO, as I call it. Now, I want you to listen to this very carefully. If you treat it as a business loan, you can go into any bank for those 2 units before it's even built and show the economic model that you will collect $700 per month on each of those units. That's $1,400 a week, sorry. If you rent them to 100% occupancy, you would have $1,400 a week. I want you to times that by 52 and divide by 12, and you'll end up at about $36,000 a month of potential revenue that can be listed as a business loan for a $364,000 mortgage. Now, if we calculate that at a 70% occupancy, you could very easily still come back with about $26,000. So here it is that you have $26,000 in actual income that you can use at a 70% occupancy to show that at any given time, you could 100% meet that mortgage as part of a business loan. I'm going to tell you about additional revenue stream that comes away from that. But this is, and I'm saying this is not the place for me to go into complete details of this. But there's a part of it called, something called fintech. And it's another part of it called DeFi. And I'm going to talk to you about do it. In fact, the actual platform for which these can be executed already exists. So it's just a matter of us having a conversation on how behemoths can have literally free or low cost access to this to be able to finance your home. And people say, well, how you do that? I want you to take and imagine that you are going to do some pre-booking, right, across a digital platform. So in this free booking, in this so-called digital platform, what it allows you to do, it allows you to raise the capital in advance to build that home, put it as part of a crowdfunding campaign, then put it as part of a DeFi environment, and then put it on a smart contract called a DAO or DAC, DAO, decentralized autonomous organization or decentralized autonomous corporation, which is a smart contract that basically you have title of this, you don't have title, you have control of this property. And when you fulfill your obligations with under the DeFi contract, which is just the people who have prepaid you. Just for those of you, I want you to imagine that you pre-sell 5 weeks, of access to this DeFi for people who are on vacation. Tell them, I'm going to pre-sell you for $3,500, 5 weeks in the Bahamas. You could use a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, or 5 weeks or whatever. Just come, let me know in advance and stay inside of my house. Give them 10 years to accommodate it. That's 52 people per year in each unit. So that means you need 104 people to pay you $3,500 to have access to your place for 5 weeks sometime in the next 10 years. Do the multiplication and you'll come up with $364,000 that you have collected in advance to build your house. So all you have to do now is just sit inside of your house, keep it clean, because they can still continue to pay you a cleaning fee whenever they come, and even an energy fee. So you have already prepaid for the building of the house and for the VRBO units. And we have then met the 20,000 units. Okay, if you have 2 people doing this each time, then what do you have now? You now have at least 10,000 families that actually owns their home with no mortgage. And after the DeFi have satisfied that the people have used up those 104 individuals have used up those 5 weeks, guess what? The DeFi, which is a smart contract, transfers title to you. And so you still have this place that you can continue to operate as a VRB or B&B for the rest of your life. But this is available now, but you don't hear members of parliament talking about the new, what's now, what's new, and what's next as part of the economic model. Because we somehow believe that individuals who didn't know on the 16th automatically knew on the 17th. If the civil servants knew what to do, they would have told the previous administrations. They really don't know what to do. So it's up to us to begin to have a conversation on what's now, what's next, and what's new as to how do we reclaim ownership of this economy. We have in the mortgage corporation, probably 80% or maybe even as much as 90% of all the mortgages are now in distress. Okay, homelessness is going to become a major issue in the Bahamas over the next couple of weeks. And all I'm simply saying is, I just told you about the VRBO taking a small part of the hospitality industry. If I begin to explain to you what you could do in the orange economy, the blue economy, the green economy, the digital economy, the knowledge economy, conceptual economy, and aquamarine economy, you get blown away. And again, no capital is needed. Money and money does not make money. It is only when you take money and combine it with an idea that monies multiply. But they have been convincing you that you must chase money rather than refining your ideas. Individuals with money, once you have refined your ideas, will actually seek you out so that their money can multiply. And that's all we have to do, is begin to put in place the platforms that is necessary for behemoths to access and rebuild and own this economy with little or no effort. But I want those of you who are listening, and I want you to share this video now and share it later with individuals. And don't just, you skeptics, I say to you, unless you want to, and when you want to, and when you want to contest me, I want us to do it live on air. Don't tell me what you think, what you believe, what you was told. I want to have a discussion with you know. I want you to find the tourism minister. I want you to find the minister of finance. I want you to find the junior minister of finance. I want you to find the housing minister. Okay, I want you to find, and I'm gonna come back and talk about the natural resources, which is in the trillions of dollars. Listen to me. I heard the third parties and alternate parties talk, talk, talk. All they do is repeat what they were told. They repeat what they heard, and they do a magnificent job of hype. Okay, they'll always tell you, "What if? What if? Why can't we? Why can't we?" You'll never hear them say, "This is how we will do it." They don't know how. They'll give you examples of, oh, what other countries do. Yeah, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, this guy next door is really happy with his wife, so I should be happy with mine if I get married. It don't work like that. Each country is individualized in its impact and its effect and the resources that it has. Singapore does this. Norway does this. All this other stuff. Start calling them out and says, stop telling me what we can do. What if? Why not? And say exactly how we will do it. Don't say we will sell it. Tell me the structure for which you will sell it. And this will just shut most of them up because that's what they are. Talk, 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 talk. What I want you to do is to understand that we have a unique opportunity at this time in history to change and revolutionize the Bahamas. But it's going to require input from all of us. The intelligence of all of us supersedes the select few of us. And if we make the decision that we want better, we can have better. We can own this economy in the shortest period of time. You know, as we begin to talk about this $8 billion of the economy that's disappeared, 8 billion or the 13 billion that they say now has disappeared, that's thousands of families that is moving into crisis. We could reclaim all of them. We could create a social safety net. We could re-stimulate this economy by simply moving to the construction industry, because these 20,000 rooms on Grand Bahama and thousands of rooms across the Bahamas has to be built. And I just told you how we could raise the hundreds of millions of billions of dollars by simply utilizing DeFi, decentralized finance, fintechs, and other tools that's out here. Billions of dollars is available. We are going to be in the hospitality industry. Is it too hard to pre-sell year two units? I mean, Atlantis them is booked a year, 2, 3, 4 years in advance. So why can't you do the same thing? We just need to build the proper infrastructure to allow you to do what the foreigners is being given carte blanche to do. I'm saying technology is now at the point that we don't need to beg for permission to do these things. Hold 1 second for me, please. What I'm saying is let's build back better, stronger together. Let's build back better, stronger together. Diversify the economy with behemoths owning it in the orange, the blue, the green, the digital, the knowledge, the conceptual, the aquamarine, the silver economy, the circle economy. All of these are actual economic models built on the big D, a global digital model. And there is multiple disciplines under each one of those that behemoths themselves can go into with zero or very little capital. We just need to refine your ideas in such a way that people will buy your vehicles. Here's a quick side note. Oftentimes in the Bahamas, we hear people say banks in the Bahamas only finance vehicles. You are absolutely correct. Here's your problem. Your members of parliament and your leaders have never taught you what a vehicle is. Pay attention. They've been having you believe that vehicles are automobiles, but it's not. An automobile is a vehicle for transportation. Listen to the second part. A house is a vehicle for home ownership. A business is a vehicle for wealth building. Notice the word banks only finance vehicle. It's absolutely correct. But they had you believing that the only vehicle there was the one for transportation. Now, why does banks only finance vehicles? Very simple, very simple. Banks only finance what if you don't begin to pay them back as agreed, they can take you out of and put somebody else in. If you don't pay for that automobile, they simply take you out and put somebody else in it. If you don't pay them for that house, they take you out and put somebody else in it. And they can do the same thing for business, but you have to bring a business plan that shows that the business is independent of you, but is still run by you. So should you default, somebody else can finish doing it. So we just need to understand what vehicles is and the proper structure for presenting them to banks and investors. Because we have to go globally to make our presentation to investors to be able to rebuild a better Bahamas. I hope I didn't run on too long, but I just wanted to introduce you guys that I'm going to set a time. I don't have that time set yet. AllenCJohnson.com, ALLENCJohnson.com gives you all my social media platforms. My contact numbers is 242-825-9700 on WhatsApp. And I'm simply saying, let's have a conversation. If you're a member of a church, a member of some organization, civic organization, civil organization, I invite you to ask your leadership to invite me to have some conversation on the new economy of the Bahamas and the potential for rebuilding back better, stronger. But I need each of you to go to your member of parliament. I need you to share this video on your page and share to overcome Facebook algorithms. And basically go to your individual member of our parliament, share this video with them, and invite them to please dismiss what C. Allen Johnson is saying about being able to adopt 7 or more of these economies that they themselves are repeating as part of the blueprint for change, a new day. Ask them to begin to show the strategies. And if they don't know, in the absence of them not knowing, I can assure you, I've been in this digital arena and the metaverse that you guys are talking about. For those of you on Facebook, go look on my page. In April of 2013, I was celebrating my 35th year in the metaverse, multiverse, and omniverse. It's posted on my page. If the metaverse is a new idea that came about last year, then how did I post on multiple occasions, especially during the fight for BTC, that the metaverse is where we're going to need BTC to dominate the world? But now we're going to come back to BTC, but we can actually build a new, better network because technology has changed and enhanced. And we're going to talk about all of these things. And again, we don't need the money. They can tell you the country is broke. We're not broke. We have leadership that is broke of ideas. They are broke and broken. Our wealth from our natural resources is in the trillions of dollars. I mean, I like to throw these little nuggets. They say we have 3 million acres of crown land. For those of you with your calculator, I want you to take 50,000 acres or that 3 million, only 50,000, put it in a sovereign wealth fund, hire a sovereign asset management company, not to sell it, but to maximize its development value of 300,000 per acre in the hospitality or whatever industry. Instantly, in less than a year, we would have raised $15 billion just by transferring 50,000 prime acres into a sovereign wealth fund. We say our national debt is 10. We need some things done. Well, why are we sitting on 3 million acres of crown land and not leveraging it to maximize us? 50,000 acres with a developmental or potential income producing of $300,000, put it on the blockchain, let's raise the capital. We could raise $15 billion in a matter of weeks, if not months, satisfy our national debt. But the problem then is that they won't have to tax you. And chances are you'll begin to use those $15 to $15 billion to develop yourself. And you won't be obligated to members of parliament or to the oligarchs to feed and clothe you. You'll own your home, you'll own your economy. It's simple, you know. But the talk show host, call it your favorite talk show host and tell them you don't want to hear about, you don't want to have a conversation for 2 hours about what happened yesterday on the news. Tell them you want to hear about how to build tomorrow. Call Guardian Radio, call More FM, call 99.5, call Jones Communication, JCN, okay? Love 97 as they call it. Call your radio stations and tell them no more talking about yesterday. Let's have a conversation about tomorrow. Let's have a conversation on how that's you, can be empowered and take ownership of this economy. You think that they're distracting you, but let you know how much somebody else stole or something else when we could fix these? We talk about, oh, we have the DARE bill, the digital asset registration bill, the blockchain, everything else. Guess what? We have companies that comes up and become billion-dollar companies overnight just using blockchain. So why can't we put governance on the blockchain in a small country like this overnight? So that the freedom of information, transparency, accountability, anti-corruption will come and take effect. Because they want to talk to you with, and then you're going to have the pundits who say, we can't do it, we're too small, we do whatever. Well, how is it that a man in the garage can do it and make billions of dollars, but a full country and resources of a country and sovereignty of a country can't do the same? Stop letting the political pundits misdirect you with their arrogance of ignorance. We own the Bahamas. If we don't move to save our country, we will lose it. This is our opportunity for the come up. This is our opportunity to take ownership of it. And I'm not going to drag on any longer, but I want you to share this video for me, please. And let's have the conversation. Hit me up on WhatsApp, 825-9700. All of my social media platforms is allancjohnson.com. And let's have a conversation on how we're going to develop Grand Bahama. For you individuals on New Providence that is facing homelessness, a mortgage distress, I will also tell you, for some of you out there, how you could refinance your mortgage using decentralized finance and everything else, and take your property out of foreclosure, right? And pay as little as $500 a month on your mortgage, but you're paying $1,000, $1,500 right now. It is possible. And I dare you to call the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis, or the Junior Minister of Finance. I want you to call the opposition, Mr. Michael Pintard, and tell him to please disprove what C. Allen Johnson is saying so he could sit down and shut up. Because he's telling you that you could save your house, your mortgage, in a matter of days. We could pass a law to stop foreclosure on all these homes. They did it for dogs in 15 minutes. They did it for turtles. They did it for sharks in 15 minutes. Clearly, they can do it for behemoths. These are not new bills. These are actually a promise that was made from the previous PLP administration, introduced in Parliament by one Mr. Gregory Morse, jointly killed by the FNM and PLP together, and now promised again by this administration. So let's make them keep their promises. Not at the end of the term, today. Let's stop the foreclosures. Let's stop the homelessness. Let's stop the evictions. Then let's reset these mortgages on the DeFi using fintech and begin re-ownership. And for those of you that don't own homes, let's move into the hospitality where you sit in your 2,000 square foot house, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, look out the window, watch your guests come in on Sunday and leave Sunday morning. The new guests come in on Sunday, leave the next week Sunday morning, and you don't have to pay a dime for your house. And your electricity almost don't exist. Why? Because it's built net zero. It is built as a passive home or solar energy, gas stove, gas dryer, solar water heater, whatever it is, but you'll barely use electricity in your home. So that means you live almost debt-free day one. Don't let them fool you with these government homes. Those are slave traps. Let's get rid of the slave traps. Let's build homes where we can own the economy. And like I said to you, it doesn't require any down payment. It just requires you to build a digital structure which will take control and act as a security for those individuals that's sending you their $364,000. That's 104 people, each sending you $3,500, so they could come to the Bahamas or even trade it. They could go to Cayman Islands next year or go to TCI and trade it with somebody else who want to come to the Bahamas. And all you do is sit down. And let me give you another part you miss. If you sell 5 weeks, that means 50% of the year, those same 2 units are empty for you to rent. That's free money in your pocket. So in essence, you're fulfilling your obligation for 6 months of the year, and the other 6 months of the year, the place is empty that you could rent and keep 100% of the money. That's a fact. This is not fantasy. This exists. FTX and other people will tell you this exists. This isn't happening next year or whenever. This is happening today. Share the video, Let's have a conversation. I will have a little bit more succinct conversation, but I want you to please find your individual members of parliament and ask them individually, give me the answers you promise. I elected you to bring me answers, not to eloquently restate the problem. Demand answers. Don't scream at the FNM. Don't scream at the PLPs. I want as many of you as possible, go find your individual MP, take one of the same devices you're watching me on, aim it at them and ask them to answer the question. What is your plan for revitalizing the economy? What is your contribution? Don't tell me what the blueprint for change says. Tell me what you understand it says and how you will implement it to bring about the change that you promise. How will you be integrated? Because there's about 60% of you, 6 of every 10 of you is unemployed. Okay, many of you suffering housing distress. Don't know what's going to happen. Job insecurity, health challenges. You have a nation and education crisis. These things are fixable with 21st century leadership. Forget the talk. Tell them we want thought. I thank you for joining me. Like my page, follow my page, my profile for update. I'll give you more concrete on when I'm going to be doing this. At minimum, I'll be having this conversation at least 3 times a week. I will give you a schedule of the topics we will be talking about so that you can have your questions and answers, be able to share the video, encourage others to watch it, and be prepared for the new show on thought, not talk. You could dismiss all the other shows. And I'm going to look for some of you, I'm going to look for some sponsors. Show you guys how $5 could go a long way in actually rebuilding the Bahamas, not in these political parties, and actually creating a foundation and a platform for change so that you can own your home, you can own your country. And we can do this today, not tomorrow or the week after or some fantasy. But please take your camera, find your members of parliament, no matter if you're on the Outer Islands or New Providence or Grand Bahama, and aim the camera at them and say to them, what's now, what's new, and what's next for the new economy, and how do I integrate in it? Not talk, thoughts, not what if, what could be, the actual house. The main people, go down to the cabinet if you have to, and ask the prime minister. Call his office. I'm going to post his number the next time, and call his office and ask him, please, you're the driver of this ship. Tell us how. Tell us what. Tell us when. Tell us why Grand Bahama is being excluded. The grand deception. That's what Grand Bahama is. The grand deception, because it'll break the back of the plutocrats and oligarchs, and you will own the economy. But we're going to have a detailed conversation on Grand Bahama. We're going to have a detailed conversation. And guess what? For you members of parliament and their prime minister, I'm open to a conversation. I'm open to a conversation to fill the lack you may have on understanding something that I have been talking about in this country for almost 2 decades, when most of you did not even know what computers and laptops and tablets and things was. So don't pretend you know now. Be like individuals who run these Fortune 500 companies. They have the intelligence to get people around them that actually can execute the ideas they have. And I'm available for a conversation in building a better Bahamas. Build back better, stronger together. See right here? Got some of the colors right there for some of you who are your political fanatics. No, over here. There you go. Okay? If you look at it, it says, it has some symbols in it. Right? Let me get it right there. It has the multiplication and addition and the minus. And what it says is, we'll multiply the good, add what is needed, right? Remove the bad. There's no division, equals a better Bahamas. Multiply the good, minus the bad, add what is needed, equals no division, equals a better Bahamas. Don't let them separate you by colors. Let's treat it as one. Thank you so much for listening. I invite you to please share the video so we can overcome Facebook algorithm where they limit it, okay, and what you share. Now, if I had a gunshot or some violence, it most likely will share it, but I don't want to kill anybody just to get my message out. I want to empower you. I want to wake you up to a new beginning and new opportunities. Go out and find your member of parliament, call them, voice note them, WhatsApp them, whatever, And I'm going to make sure I'm going to send a message to Mr. Fred Mitchell demanding, and to Mr. Brave Davis, a copy of every single WhatsApp contact or whatever contact for every member of parliament in their political party and every senator in their party for their WhatsApp and their contact for them to answer and integrate with you. And I'll do the same thing with Mr. Michael Pintard and whoever the new chairman of the FNM is. And let's begin to have a conversation directly with them, and let's ask them how, what, when, why, and who. Thank you so much for watching. Share the video. Let's build a better Bahamas. Build back better, stronger together. Ownership, ownership, ownership. Thank you again for joining me, and I'll see you in the next few days. Follow Alan, my page. WhatsApp me at 827-9700. AlanCjohnson.com, ALLENCJOHNSON.com to find my platforms. Reach out to me and look for my schedule in this new conversation. Thank you so much, Bahamas. I love you. I love you. I love you.